Yo guys, so in this video, gonna do a bit of a tutorial on how to wheelie a 29er. Hey! Okay, so we are in the back of Innerleithen on a really quiet road, and we're gonna walk you through how to wheelie a 29er enduro bike. So before we get into like the step-by-step of how to do it, may as well just run through a few things on why people struggle with wheelies to start with, especially these big wagon wheels. So first things first, you want to find yourself a quiet, decent place to do a wheelie, so it's actually pretty safe. And first mistake I see people making is trying to do a wheelie on like hard gradient, if you like. So if you try and do a wheelie down a hill, it can be generally harder because you're obviously picking up speed at the same time. So I'd recommend you find somewhere that's flat or even slightly uphill. They're generally the easiest places to do wheelies. Second thing people tend to get it wrong is probably trying to do a wheelie in like a low gear or too hard a gear. So it almost makes it impossible for you to bring the front wheel off the ground. And then equally, people try and do a wheelie in the easiest gear. So they end up getting the front wheel up and then spinning out and running out of gears. Another thing as well, saddle height. So some people try and do wheelies with a saddle like really low, which makes it kind of hard to get up onto your balancing point. And then if you try and do a wheelie with your saddle too high and your legs are pretty much all the way outstretched, you end up again in the wrong body position. So kind of want like a middle of the road saddle position height. When people actually get up into the wheelie, they tend to bend their elbows and end up with like T-Rex style arms. So they bring their arms in, which basically causes them to loop out off the back of the bike. So we're gonna go through anyway how to get over that. But yeah, people bend their elbows like T-Rexes isn't a good thing. If you try and do wheelies for like the first time, I would probably recommend putting some flat pedals on. So I've got some flat 510s on and some neat groove pedals, just because it's like there's probably less that can go wrong compared to when you clipped in. Like imagine if you're trying to learn a wheelie for the first time and you clipped in and you end up looping off the back of the bike and then you can't unclip, like you just end up arse over tit on the floor. So we don't want that. So today I put some flat pedals on to show you, and if this is your first time trying a wheelie on the 29er, I'd probably put some flat pedals on too. So those are pretty much like the main things that people get wrong with doing a wheelie. So now we'll move on to like the step-by-step of how to actually wheelie one of these 29ers. Okay, so setting up for the wheelie. Saddle wants to be, like I said, mid-height, so like not too low, not too high. Your knees want to be slightly bent, not straight, so probably worth testing out before you jump on and start trying and practicing. Like we said before, slap the flat pedals on if you're giving this a go for the first time, and make sure you're in like a mid-range gear as well. So I've got 12 gears on here, so I'm going to put it in like probably gear 6 or 7, just to give me enough torque to get the wheelie going. And then when you get more advanced, you can start changing gears with like how fast you do your wheelie and stuff. But for now, we're just going to keep it in one single gear and keep it fairly straightforward. One of the most important rules when you're doing a wheelie, make sure you always cover your back brake. So you want to always keep a finger over the rear brake, just in case you do end up going too far back, and you can then press the brake to bring your front end down and stop you looping out and having an accident. Right, okay, so we are on this back road. As you can see, no cars, no traffic, no nothing. It is a slight incline, so we're going to go and try and do a wheelie up the hill. I always find doing a wheelie when you're going up the hill and on a flat is easier than going down a hill, because if you think about doing a wheelie down a hill, you get the front wheel up, and then as you're pedaling, the bike is also speeding up, so then you've got to start changing gears and going faster to keep the front wheel up. Whereas if you're on the flat or going uphill slightly, it's a lot easier, I find, to keep the front wheel and keep you in your balance point. There's like 2 or 3 keys to doing this, and it kind of all has to happen at once. So you obviously want to pull up with your extended arms, but you also want to put torque through the pedals at the same time. And you almost want to think about pulling the handlebars and then pushing your feet forward. So it's kind of like an opposite motion. So as you pull your front wheel up, you're pushing down on the pedal. And when you're setting off in a wheelie, whatever foot you ride forward, I would keep that foot not like, so if I ride right foot forward and I want to do a wheelie, I'd put my right foot in the up position, like the highest point. So then I've got a bit of torque to press down, which should be enough to bring the front wheel up. So we'll give it a go. Once you get the wheelie up, it's all about going back and getting comfortable and finding your balance point, because obviously every bike's going to be different. So with this it's fairly easy because the back end's quite short, but you might want to play around to start with if it's a new bike or whatever, to find the balance point, because obviously I can pedal hard now and just go straight off the back of the bike. That was obviously too far. But yeah, the more you practice it, the more you'll get comfortable with finding where that balance point is. So the balance point is pretty much where, as you can see, where I was pedaling and I was feeling like I was in a comfortable position, comfortable balance position. And all I was doing there was keeping the pedals moving and modulating the brake as well. So another key thing to remember as well when you're doing a wheelie, when people are trying to wheelie to start with and they want to learn to get better at them, out of fear they end up jabbing the brake, so like just pulling the brake on and off. When you're doing a wheelie, all that's going to do is literally just bring your front end down. So what we want to do is you want to modulate the brake, so almost pull the lever in, and then to like pull the lever in until it hits the brake pad, and then literally just almost like feather the brake, so you can like either bring the front wheel down with your brake, and then you can pedal your bike to bring that front wheel up to keep yourself in that balance point. It's like my knee pad gap. So we're doing a wheelie downhill now, but as you can see, we're starting to pick up speed, and I'm starting to have to change gears because we're going faster. I'm quite comfortable doing this, but if you're just starting out, it's probably not the best idea. Probably stick to the flat or uphill. Oh, T-Rex arms. There we go. He's got his shorts sorted. Look at the gap.
It's illegal.
Illegal gap. But I can quite comfortably sit here, and actually it's another thing to note, I'm looking ahead. I'm looking just in front of my front wheel, and I'm also using my ass cheeks on the saddle to move my hips around just to stay balanced, so I'm not like falling to one side or another. I'm not like directly looking down or anything like that, because if you start looking down, your weight comes down. I'll show you again. If you do a wheelie, and then if you look too far at the floor, your front wheel will come down because your weight's pulled forward. So you always want to be looking like 2 or 3 bike lengths ahead or something, depending on how fast you're going. But yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. That was kind of like a little video into steps on how to wheelie a 29er. I think wheeling a 29er is a little bit different to wheeling like a smaller wheel 27.5 or 26-inch bike, just mainly because the wheels are bigger, so you're higher up, and it just requires a bit more playing around to find your comfortable balance point. But once you get it, and once you find the balance point for your bike, you can get fairly comfortable and start progressing that. So if you wanted to start like changing gears and going faster, or holding the wheelie in a manual almost, it's all pretty transferable, especially when you got on the trail as well. Like doing a wheelie, helping you find your balance point, is going to help you become an overall better rider. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it useful. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, this tutorial style stuff. Get yourself subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Sweet.
Bye.